gathering stories around Wilmington. You want to share your story with us?
Oh yes, I have one story that I'm convinced had some divine intervention in it, or I never would be sitting here telling the story. About 5 years ago, I began to experience symptoms of something that we never knew what it was. And about the third year into seeing doctors, we were up in Durham going to see the doctor, the specialist at Duke. We had a 35-foot motorhome, and we were members of a motorhome club. And we had gone out on an outing over the weekend, and it didn't pay to go home and come back to Durham. So we found a campground that was near the hospital, and we pulled into it. We towed a car behind us. At that point in time, I was walking with a cane, and my husband said he was going to go out and unhook the car. He would drive the rig down to the parking place and come back for the car. And I said, don't be silly. I can't walk very well, but I can drive. Long story short, I wound up trying to walk in front of the RV and to get to the car. He never saw me in being standing or walking in front of the RV, and he started to move. There were two men in a car that were going to show us where the site was. They saw what happened, but he never did. And they started screaming, "Stop, stop!" And he finally did stop, and when he stopped, the axle of the front wheels on the rig was laying across my back. I was under the rig, and the one guy came up, and I heard him dial 911, and he's saying, bring paramedics, bring fire department. Man, he ran over a lady with the motorhome. And with about 5 minutes, the emergency squad was there, and they put a blow-up pillow under one wheel and sent a fireman underneath to be with me. The two men from the car were underneath the rig with me, and that made 4 of us. And I looked at the fireman and I said, "Did you happen to think to bring a deck of cards?" And they got me in the ambulance and started to cut my shirt open to put an IV in. And when Joshua, the attendant in the back, said he was going to cut my jeans, I said, "Oh no, you're not." And I lifted up, unbuttoned, pulled them down. I said, "Get my boots off. You're not going to cut the leg out of my favorite jeans." So he pulled them off, and I don't know what else I did, but when we got to the hospital, he told me that riding with me in his ambulance was the best fun he'd had ever being there. Okay, they admit me, and for some reason, I wouldn't open my eyes. A policewoman comes into the room with a copy of the accident report. She followed me in the ambulance and gave me the copy of the report and said to me, "Ma'am, did you and your husband have an argument?" And I said, "No, it was an accident." And they brought me into the emergency room. My husband had to take the RV to where it was going to be parked. He came in shortly thereafter. They did tests on me. The bill was $75,000. That's what we saw. It cost me, I had good insurance. But we were there from noon until about 4:30, and they were going to release me. I had no broken bones. I had no internal bleeding. I had a great big bump on my right hip and some gravel in my face. Divine intervention. And I do have to say that when I was under the bus, my life did not pass in front of me. The first thought was, God, if you're going to kill me, please make it fast. I don't want to hurt. And then when I realized the bus had stopped and I was okay, actually it was still moving a little, I remember the old cowboy movies where the cowboy is trying to beat the old bad guys off the stagecoach, and they push him off the stagecoach and he winds up underneath being dragged, and he gets in the middle and he doesn't get run over by the wheels because he's holding on to the middle. So I moved myself over a little bit. I don't know how, but I think it saved my left hand. Divine intervention. Back to the hospital. They're going to discharge me. I get up out of bed, say I don't feel good. I see my husband walking through the door, and that's all I remember until I woke up in the emergency room again, and this time they were doing all kinds of tests. And about 2 hours later, they came back and told me I'd had a heart attack. And the story goes on, and there are some other funny moments. But by this point in time, anybody who sees this is probably tired of listening to it anymore.
Thank you so much for sharing.
You are quite welcome.
So much.
I just have to say that there is no polite way. There is no polite way to say that your husband ran you over with a bus.
That's right. Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.